I want to look at redistricting and its impact, because that's going to be potentially enormous. So nonpartisan redistricting, a first in Virginia. What's the impact that is going to have, just first and foremost, on who controls the House and the Senate, do you think?
Well, let me say first, I think the Democrats who supported that rue the day they ever did. I think this may be the only party in the country in which a significant portion of people controlled the governorship, the Senate, and the House, and gave that power up. Pretty remarkable that they did that. So now what's happened as a result is that the Supreme Court not only engaged in a redistricting, but they engaged in what I would call a maximalist redistricting. They didn't consider any incumbent address in that redistricting. So what that led to was, almost 40% of folks at one time at the beginning being tossed into districts with one another. And that's going to lead to tremendous uncertainty. You have Democrats running against Democrats in primaries. You have a couple of instances where Republicans are going to be running in Republicans. And you have a lot of instances where people are running entirely in districts that are kind of new. And one thing that I know about elected officials, they typically know their district very well from the school board on. You can go to any street and they can tell you, how it votes, what it looks like. They don't always know that right now. So that's going to lead to tremendous uncertainty, I think, in this election. We can already say there's going to be a couple of places where there's going to be clear fights. Can John Edwards keep his Senate seat in Roanoke? Can Siobhan Donovan keep her seat in a district that's become more Democratic? But even beyond that, I think we're going to see a lot of turnover and uncertainty as this election season goes forward, more so than I can ever remember in the Virginia General Assembly.
Yeah, I've seen at least one delegate sell his house already.
Right. Well, if you were a fan, by the way, of term limits and you're unhappy that it never happened, you're getting a version of that now.
So Mark, with the scramble underway then, do you think we're going to see historic turnover?
The short answer is yes. Yeah, no doubt about it. Maybe, some people want turnover, right?
And then how does it impact who takes control, though, of the House and Senate? That's not as easy to answer.
What do you think?
I don't think it's so easy to answer, because what you've seen is that there are a lot of districts where the incumbent situation got better for them and got better for their party. VPAP has done a great job in putting that out. There are some places where it didn't change very much, but there are a number of places where it did change and you have more competition right now. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to 3 or 4 seats in the Senate, 6 or 8 seats in the House. It's going to depend on the quality of the candidate, the quality of the messaging, and the money. And that's the one other thing I want to mention about that is changing in this season. Over the last 2 House cycles, the Democrats had a huge financial advantage over the Republicans. That may not exist this time because the Republicans have this premier fundraiser sitting in the governor's office in Glenn Youngkin, who is going to bring in, I think, most of the Virginia business money this time is going to support Republicans for the most part, I believe. So it's going to be up to the Democrats, actually, to get national money in, which they have done fairly successfully in the last 2 cycles. But to be competitive with the Republicans this time, they're going to have to do that. And I don't see a situation, as we saw in 17 and the last 2 cycles, 19 and 21, where the Democrats had a clear financial advantage over the Republicans in these House races.